Two people save the exact same amount of money every month. Same job, same discipline, same $200. One of them ends up with more than twice as much as the other. Neither one picked better investments. Neither one got lucky. The only difference between them is when they started. In the next few minutes, I am going to show you exactly how that happens. With real numbers, you can check yourself. Here is the punchline up front, so you know where we are going. The person who started at 25 put in $24,000 more over their lifetime, but they ended up with $280,000 more. That extra money did not come from their paycheck. It was not saved. It was grown. Understanding where it came from is one of the most useful things you can learn about money. Why does this matter to you? Because compound growth is the one part of personal finance where being early matters more than being smart. You cannot go back and start 10 years ago, but you can understand the mechanism well enough that you stop postponing it. Most people delay investing because they are waiting to earn more, waiting to feel ready, or waiting until they understand everything. By the end of this video, you will understand the part that actually matters. Let us start with what the words mean, because the term sounds more complicated than the idea. Imagine you put $1,000 somewhere that grows 7% a year. With simple interest, you earn 7% of your original $1,000 every year, forever, $70 a year. It never changes. That is the straight blue line. With compound interest, you earn 7% on everything you have, including the interest you already earned. So year 1, you earn $70. Year 2, you earn 7% on $1,070. Year 3, 7% on more than that again. Each year, the thing that is growing is bigger than the year before. That is the curved green line. Compound interest simply means your interest starts earning interest of its own. It is worth slowing down on the first few years, because this is where the intuition comes from. Start with $1,000. In year 1, you earn 7%, which is $70, and you finish with $1,070. In year 2, you earn 7% again, but now it is 7% of $1,070, so you earn $74.90. In year 3, you earn $80.14. The rate never changed. It is 7% every single year. But the dollar amount you earn keeps climbing, because the balance it is calculated on keeps climbing. By year 30, that same 7% is earning you nearly $500 a year from the same original $1,000. Nothing was added. The growth compounded on itself. Let us put numbers on it. $1,000, 7%, 30 years. With simple interest, you end up with $3,100. With compound interest, you end up with $7,612. Same starting amount, same rate, same 30 years. The compound version is worth nearly 2.5 times as much, and every extra dollar of that came from interest earning its own interest. Notice something important. The two lines look almost identical for the first few years. The gap only becomes dramatic later. That is the part people underestimate. So if that is the engine, what actually drives it? There are only 3 inputs that matter. The first lever is how much you contribute. That one is limited by your income and your expenses, and for most people there is a ceiling on it. The second lever is the rate of return. That one is mostly out of your hands. You cannot decide what the market does, and anyone who promises you a specific return is telling you something they cannot know. The third lever is time. And time is the strange one, because it is the most powerful of the 3, and it is the only one that is free. It does not require you to earn more or to pick better. It only requires you to begin. Let us go back to our 2 savers and watch that third lever do its work. Person A starts investing at age 25. Person B waits and starts at age 35. Both of them put in $200 a month. Both keep going until they are 65. Person A does this for 40 years and contributes $96,000 in total. Person B does it for 30 years and contributes $72,000. So Person A puts in $24,000 more across their whole life. That is about $50 a month averaged out. It is a real difference, but it is not a dramatic one. Now the results. Starting at 25, that $200 a month becomes about $525,000. Starting at 35, it becomes about $244,000. Starting at 45, about $104,000. Look at the shape of that. Waiting 10 years did not cost 10 years of savings. It cost more than half the final result. And waiting 20 years cost about 80% of it. The contributions went down a little. The outcome went down enormously. Here is the comparison that made me want to make this video. starting 10 years earlier, cost Person A $24,000 in extra contributions. It gained them $280,968 in extra ending balance. Every dollar of that first amount is money they earned and chose not to spend. The remaining $256,000 was not earned and not saved. It is what those early contributions turned into, because they had an extra 10 years to compound. The first dollars you invest are worth far more than the last dollars because they have the most time. There is a simple mental shortcut that makes this tangible. It is called the Rule of 72. Take the number 72 and divide it by your annual rate of return. The answer is roughly how many years it takes for your money to double. At 7%, 72 divided by 7 is about 10.3 years. So money doubles roughly every decade. Now think about what that means. A dollar invested at 25 has about 4 doublings before you turn 65. A dollar invested at 35 has 3. That one missing doubling at the end is the biggest one of all, because it is doubling the largest balance you will ever have. This is the single most counterintuitive number in the whole lesson. Take our 40-year investor putting in $200 a month. During their first 10 years, the balance grows by about $34,600. During their last 10 years, the balance grows by about $280,000. They contributed exactly the same amount in both decades, $24,000 in, each time. But the final decade produced roughly 8 times as much growth. That is why quitting early is so expensive, and why the first 10 years feel so slow and so discouraging. The flat part is not the system failing. The flat part is the price of admission for the steep part. Knowing how it works is only half of it. Here is where people lose the benefit in practice. The first mistake is waiting until you earn more. It feels responsible, but it spends the one resource you cannot buy back. Starting with a small amount now beats starting with a large amount later, and we have just seen by how much. The second mistake is cashing out early. Every time you pull the balance out and start again, you restart the curve at the flat part. The third mistake is chasing bigger returns, usually by taking risks you do not fully understand. Rate is the lever you control the least, and reaching for it is how people lose the principle that was supposed to be compounding. The fourth mistake is the quiet one, and it deserves its own chapter. Compounding is neutral. It works just as hard against you as it works for you. Suppose everything is identical, $200 a month, 40 years, 7%. Except one of them pays a 1% annual fee, so they actually earn 6%. 1% sounds like a rounding error. Here is what it does. The 7% version ends at about $525,000. The 6% version ends at about $398,000. That single percentage point costs $126,665. Put another way, a 1% fee quietly took 24% of the final result, not 1% of it, 24%. That is compounding working in reverse, and it is why the expense ratio on a fund is worth reading before you choose it. This is not a reason to panic about every fee. It is a reason to know what you are paying, because a number that looks small on a statement does not stay small over 40 years. Before we finish, 2 things that most videos on this topic leave out. The first is that 7% is an assumption, not a promise. It is a figure often used for the long-run average of a broad stock market, but real returns arrive unevenly. Some years are strongly positive, some are sharply negative, and the average only shows up over long periods. Anyone who guarantees you a number is telling you something they cannot possibly know. The second is inflation. $525,000 in 40 years does not buy what $525,000 buys today. At 3% inflation, it has roughly the purchasing power of $160,900 in today money. That is still a very good outcome from $200 a month, and it is still far better than not starting. But you should see the real number, not just the big one. Honest arithmetic is more useful to you than an exciting headline. Let us bring it together. 1. Compound interest just means your interest earns interest. That is the entire mechanism. 2. Of the 3 levers, time is the strongest, and it is the only one that is free. 3. The dollars you invest earliest are worth the most, because they get the most doublings. 4. Fees compound against you at exactly the same speed, so a small percentage is not a small number. Notice that none of these require you to be clever or lucky or to predict anything. So what can you actually do with this? First, work out an amount you can genuinely sustain every month, and be honest about it. A small, consistent number beats an ambitious one you abandon. Second, automate it, so it happens without a decision each month. Third, look up what you are paying in fees on anything you already hold, because you just saw what 1% does over decades. And fourth, once it is running, leave it alone. The whole lesson of that curve is that the interesting part happens late, and only if you stay in it. I am not telling you what to buy, and nobody who does not know your situation should. This is the mechanism, not a recommendation. If there is one sentence to take away, it is this: you do not need to be perfect, and you do not need to be rich. You need to be early, consistent, and patient enough to let the arithmetic do its work. Everything in this video is educational only, and returns are never guaranteed. If it was useful, subscribe to BRN Finance for more simple, honest money lessons. Thanks for watching.